Hi students, class 10 CBSE. I am here with 100 dresses part 2. 100 dresses part 2. In 100 dresses part 1, what we learned? That Wanda Petronsky surprised everyone with her wonderful paintings. She created 100 designs and each one of was capable of winning a prize. So this was the end of the story. Now 100 dresses part 2. Actually, while the teacher asked the students to move around in the classroom to look at the work of Wanda Petronsky, the monitor from the principal came with a small note. This letter had come from Wanda's father. And when she got this small letter, Miss Mason read it carefully several times and tried to understand its content. What was the message that the letter conveyed to her? The letter was addressed to her, and the letter read like this: Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. Actually, the content of the letter conveyed her quite clearly that Wanda was not going to come to school again. She had left the school. And because she was targeted, because of her name, long and strange name, because girls mocked her, laughed at her, so she would not be subjected to these indignities anymore. She would not be coming to school anymore. And this was a shocking news for Miss Mason. Then she removed her spectacles, wiped them clean and put them on and addressed herself to the class. Students were very serious, quiet. They were no longer shuffling their feet. They were quite attentively listening to her. She told them that she did not think that what was done to Wanda was done deliberately or purposefully. It was an act of thoughtlessness. Ki whosoever students misbehaved with Wanda or targeted her or mocked her, they did it thoughtlessly. But it was unfortunate nonetheless. It was very, very unfortunate. And she asked the students to think about it. Ki what has happened was unfortunate. A student, a girl had to leave the school because she was targeted for having a strange name, for having not such a kind of dress, and for having such a look or this or that. So the teacher was very serious on this issue because Wanda was a very good student. She had already proven with her 100 designs, and to lose such a student at such a time, it was very unfortunate according to her. Then the first period was the study period, but Maddie could not concentrate on her work. She was thinking and thinking and thinking, and she started blaming herself that what Peggy did to Wanda was an act of thoughtlessness, that Peggy's action was thoughtless action, and Peggy did not feel that she was being mean to Wanda Petronsky, that she was targeting her, because Peggy was not understanding what she was doing. Probably she thought that Wanda was a dumb girl and that she was such a slow learner, such an idiot girl, that she could not understand what Peggy was doing to her. But at least Maddie was understanding everything. She knew what Peggy was doing to Wanda. At least she should have stopped Peggy from doing this, but she could not. Now, she thought that her chance of making amends, to say sorry to Wanda, had gone. She hoped that if Wanda was still at her place at Boggins Heights, she would try to tell her, to express her sorrow to her and confess to her that please forgive her, because she could not speak, because she kept mum while Peggy was targeting her and asking her silly questions. So she decided in her mind that if God willing, she could still meet Wanda, if Wanda might not have left her place, and she would tell her that how well she had done her work, her designs, her paintings, her 100 designs, they were so wonderful, all such things. School was over, and then Peggy herself suggested to Maddie that they both should go to Wenda's place and try to find out if the kid was still there. They both reached there, and to their disappointment, nobody was there. House was deserted, and there was no sign of life there. So they returned disappointed, both Peggy and Maddie. But Peggy made a comment while coming back from Wenda's place that because she asked her about 100 dresses, who knows, Wenda had the idea of those 100 dresses which she could create. She tried to absolve herself from all the blames. Maddie also tried to convince that yes, but reaching home, she felt very bad. She could not sleep. Her mind was churning, and she resolved in her mind, कि come what may, if any girl is targeted in the school for having a strange name or wearing a strange dress, she will raise her voice and she will raise stop and put those wrongdoers to shame who were targeting that girl. If any girl was picked on, she will not remain quiet, because she had already done wrong. By keeping quiet, she had not done justice to herself and to Wenda. She supported Peggy in all her nonsense. But next, even if it means losing her friendship, she will not keep quiet. She will raise her voice and she will say stop and put to shame all those wrongdoers who targeted innocent girls. She resolved this. It was Saturday afternoon. Both the girl decided to write a letter to Wenda Petronsky, and in that letter they wrote that how well she had done, her drawings were so great, designs so great, all these things. But they could not write the word sorry in their letter. They could not express their sorrow for what they had done to her. But at night, Maddie always felt disturbed, and she found herself making speeches. But actually, gradually she was coming to terms with this idea that she was a mute spectator when something wrong was being done to Wenda, and she put herself to sleep. But before sleeping, she made a long speech, and in that speech she told everybody that it was wrong to pick on anyone, and that she pictured in her mind that Wenda was standing in the schoolyard and girls had surrounded her, and she went there and thundered at the girl, asked them not to tease Wenda Petronsky and put them to shame. So she had resolved that if any girl was targeted, she would not keep quiet. She had kept quiet enough. Okay, students? Then time wore on, time passed. Actually, they had written letter to Wenda. The letter that they had written to Wenda did not return to them. This means letter was received. And because Wenda did not write any letter to them, so they thought that she must be angry and unforgiving. Okay, so like that. Time passed, Christmas time came. The ground was covered with snow. Decorations everywhere. Schools were decorated, shops, windows, homes, everywhere. It was Christmas time, celebration time. Actually, the memory of Wenda was getting erased from their minds. The memory of Wenda was getting erased from their minds. Gradually, time and again, they remembered her, particularly Maddie remembered her. But as time is a great medicine, as the time passed, Christmas came, celebration was on. The last day of the school before Christmas holidays, Miss Mason received a letter from Wenda, and it was a big surprise. She was very happy that through that letter she could know the new address of Wenda, and she would be able to send her trophies to her and all such things. And this is what Wenda had written in her letter. Dear Miss Mason, how are you? And room 13. Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses, because in my new house I have 100 new ones all lined up in my closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with red trimming, and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas I miss that school, and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Wanda Petronsky. These two girls took the designs, the drawing very carefully to their homes. But what happened? Maddie was in tears at home. She had put up that design on the wall. And when she looked at it, she was in tears, but she looked through the tears and she found that her face had been drawn by Wanda. She looked carefully into the painting and she realized, yes, she ran to Peggy and asked her to look at the painting that she had received from Wanda. And they found that, yes, Peggy's face was on the painting, on the drawing. They realized that Wanda had forgiven them, that she was a generous girl, she was quite forgiving, and all the wrongs that had been done to her, she had forgotten it. Now, this is the story, students. But I tell you, what is the message from this story? The message is that what Peggy and her friends did to Wanda, and what Wanda did to them, Wanda returned good for the evil done to her. What an artist she was. And she made Maddie and Peggy both realize that what they had done to her was wrong. That she was not an idiot girl. She was not a silly girl. She understood what the girls were doing to her. Still knowingly, she had the grace, she had the generosity to return good for the evil. So students, I think you have understood everything quite clearly. Now revise this lesson thoroughly and write in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel. Keep smiling. Have a fantastic day.